Hi, everyone, and welcome to our latest MCG Talent webinar. Today, we are going to be discussing how to leverage technology to secure your next role. We have two very special guests joining us today to cover that subject. First up, we've got Justin McGuire, CEO of MCG Talent. Introduce yourself, Justin.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you very much for bringing me into this webinar. I'm really excited to be here today. As many will know me, I run MCG Talent. We are recruitment specialists for the Marcoms and Digitech world in the Middle East and Asia. And I am super happy, super delighted to be joined by Javeed today. Javeed, what a pleasure it is to have you here, sir.
Oh, it is, Justin. Thank you very much for having me. This really was 2012, 2011 when we were bringing the brightest of digital minds to the UAE, and that's what it's so excited to connect after that and be on this. So what I do is I lead talent acquisition for large enterprises like IBM, Mastercard, KPMG, and I did a startup in Saudi Arabia called a digital bank, like the Monzos and the Revoluts for Saudi, the first of which. I've been a passionate recruiter for about 20 years, and that's what I do. And my wife sometimes says you're a better recruiter than a husband. So I'm like, okay, I take that. It's coming naturally to me these days. So that's what I do. And I can go deeper into the introductions as we go along. But thank you so much for having me, Justin.
Pleasure, sir.
Amazing. Thank you very much for introducing yourselves. Before we get started, I'm just going to pass over to Laura, who's going to go through all of our housekeeping rules for the webinar today. Over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. So the housekeeping, just to go through it really quickly, if you do have to dash off, a recording will be available afterwards for all registrants. But if you do stay up with us on the live, you'll be able to ask questions in real time using the chat function. So if you wiggle your mouse at the bottom of the screen, click on the chat function and you can pop your questions in there at any point. We're going to answer as many as we possibly can. Now, questions will be anonymous. Only myself and the panelists will be able to see them, so please don't be shy. And to get us used to using that chat function, I'm going to begin by asking you a question and you can pop your answers in. So the question for you is, how do you think technology is impacting recruitment processes, whether you're hiring or job hunting? I'm going to pop that in the chat function for you as well so you can see it.
Perfect. While those answers are coming in, I will just go over our agenda for today. So what we are going to cover is general job search and tech integrations, recruitment tech and AI, optimizing online presence, and standing out in a competitive market. We've also got some demos coming for you from Javeed, which is one of the first times that we've done this on one of our webinars. So we're really excited to see those demos today. I think everyone will find them extremely useful. So that's what you've got to look forward to. I'm going to hand back over to Laura. She's going to go through some of the answers and then we'll get started with today's agenda.
Okay, so we've had a few answers come through. So people are saying increase in speed, making filtering and access to funnels really difficult for job seekers. Talking about ATS, which is something that we'll cover as well. Saying that it's increased competition when job hunting as there's more applicants. We've had quite a lot of responses, but all of these we are going to cover in the webinar.
Perfect. All right, so let's get started with the first question for the panel. Javeed, I'll come to you on this one first. How much does recruitment technology actually influence hiring decisions today?
Technology has always been here and has been influencing the decisions that we've been taking in recruiting. So it isn't new that the technology has changed over the day or so on and so forth, right? It's always been with us. ATSs were always a part of our life, which were helping us do the recruiting that we were doing. And I still remember back in the days, 20 years ago, we still had some kind of an ATS for us. So the technology has always been there. But what's changing at this point of time is the disruption of the technology with AI coming in. And I think it is more so with the last 8 months or so when OpenAI came into picture and then everything burst open. So how is it changing? Technology is helping us shortlist much faster compared to what we were doing previously. It's helping us parse resumes much quicker. Now, is there a bias in it? Is there no bias in it? There's a debate that we always need to work around it, but it is definitely helping us short schedule interviews much faster. So there's a lot of technology involvement in the upstream of the recruiting process, which is application till about the first interview process, right? Where the change management needs to be worked on is more hiring managers, more candidates. How do I apply? How do I make sure that I'm the right fit? There's a lot of change management that's happening. Point of time, even technology might break down with the amount of desperate applications that are going on. So that is where we are trying to struggle and fix the problem. But is technology disrupting us? Very much, right? 100%. That's my short answer, and we'll deep dive.
Perfect. And Justin, what's your point of view on how much you're seeing the impact of technology when it comes to hiring?
It's speeding it up is the main thing I'd say. The reality is that, back in the day, a lot of it was based on your whilst you had ATS systems, it was also a little bit about, for me especially, I was well known in the advertising world because I used to work in that market. I had my little black book of people that I knew that were really good. Okay. Now technology allows me to have a much, much bigger black book, a huge black book of people that I can access really, really quickly. Okay. So that's speed is the main thing that we're talking about here. Which is phenomenal. And that's obviously given a lot of recruiters from an agency perspective, give them the opportunity to expand their customer and candidate databases because they can access wider tools and they can understand quicker and faster. But it's also giving brands access to candidate pipelines that they've never been able to have access to before a lot faster. So that's really exciting. I think the flip side of the coin to that is it's also allowed a lot of people to access companies a little bit quicker as well. So there could be an argument to say, and I think probably this is going to come out in the conversation, that it's also creating bottlenecks. And that's what we're going to talk about, how we can unblock those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And then one of the questions that we get asked a lot when we do webinars and Q&A sessions is around how job seekers can avoid making mistakes when it comes to AI-driven hiring tools. Are there any common mistakes that you've seen candidates make when it comes to dealing with AI-driven hiring tools? Javeed, I'll come to you on this one first.
Absolutely. I think GPT is the main culprit at this point of time. People have seen the power of what GPT can do, and they just either go back and copy paste exactly what GPT is telling you and put it on your resume. For me, as a recruiter on the other side, I know this resume or a cover letter is plagiarized, right? Clearly, it cleans what up. There are certain ones which GPT uses the words, when you read the objective or the summary, then I know that this resume is a GPT made, right? What is resume? A resume is a portrayal and a brand of yourself where you're sending it to multiple places at the same time. And that cannot be influenced or written by AI. That is the first common mistake that I'm seeing. And then what I'm also seeing is there's absolutely no matching of the jobs. Okay, so let's back it up a little. What does a recruiter or a hiring manager need is the best fit for that job, right? Simple. We don't have the luxury of budgets, time, and so on and so forth for us to take somebody who is either 40%, 30% and put them on a job. We want somebody who's plug and play. Let's start, get going. We want them to be billable. We want them to make money for us and so on and so forth. Clearly, that is the crux of everything that we do in recruiting from a hiring manager point of view and a recruiter point of view. When an resume comes in to a management consulting position, and I only see consulting as a word in keyword maybe 10 years back down in the experience, and I'm like, why would you apply for this job, right? You are devaluing your brand and your resume yourself. Why are you doing this to yourself? And that goes into the bin. So clearly, the common mistake people are doing is one, using a very generic resume for all job applications, which is like one size fits everybody. And I'm like, I don't know how it will do that. And then applying for a job which you think might be a 50% fit and then trying to see if it sticks, completely not going to work. And I think the third mistake is using just the jargons and the keywords and the power words GPT is giving into your resume. And then the recruiter gets a turn off saying, oh, this is a GPT made resume.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's advice that we give candidates is to be very specific about the jobs that you apply to and treat your CV as though it's very valuable and you don't want to kind of send it to every single job on the market. Justin, I know you'll have a viewpoint on this as a man who gets thousands of CVs sent in his direction every day. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see when it comes to AI?
Javeed, I also feel very strongly about overloading CVs with fancy formatting, graphics, images, all that. I get some people send me CVs that look like nicely decorated cakes on paper, So keep it. I just can't stand those ones with all the images and everything like that. They're not only do the bots don't like them when they get, so it's very hard to pass, but also it just isn't easy to read. A good recruiter still will read a CV. Yes, they'll use technology to extract some keywords, and I'll come on to that next point. And then they'll read the CV, right? But people don't like reading a CV full with the pie charts and graphics. They want a nice, consistent format. I always feel like role, responsibility, and achievements are great things to have for each role that you put down, and just have some consistency in it. So yeah, that's what I love. The other thing I really do is implore people to do is actually don't forget some of the keywords that they're looking for. That if the job is a specific job, make sure it says you do that job quite a lot, right? Example, we work in communications a lot. I interview someone, could be recommended to me. I'll call them up. I had a really good interview with them. And then I say, oh, send me through your CV. And the CV I get is zero reflection of the actual interview that I've just had, because they don't actually talk about the key thing that they're looking for. They've got this sort of generic, you'd be amazed how many times I see that. So make sure you've got the keywords in, the bots like it, the recruiters like that, and no fancy images. Okay.
Absolutely. And just to add on to that, you don't have to do this with GPT only, right? The whole point of it is GPT helps you design a few things, but GPT is designed for much, much bigger things than just helping us write emails and design our resumes. There is a site called merker.com, which is basically something that's come up very recently in the days. I just want to show you guys quickly on how this works. I'm going to pull this down, and Merker is here. Okay. And I'm going to make this. So this is merker.com, right? You should be able to see my screen at this point of time, right? So merker.com has candidates. So what you could do basically is you just need to start looking at your own candidates, that is you as a candidate, and then you can start working. You can just upload your resume onto merker.com. It's asking me to register at this point of time. Let me do that quickly. It should not take us a little more than 30 seconds or less than that, actually. And I'm going to upload my own resume and see how the magic happens, because I have a resume at this point of time, which basically helps me do what I do want to do. So it's going to help you upload your resume. It's going to help you take an interview, a mock interview, and complete your profile. And the AI at that point of time is going to come back and give you a much better ATS friendly resume. You don't have to use GPT only for these kind of aspects of things. So my first tool is for you to go ahead, use merker.com, go back.
If you can hear me clearly, please join the interview.
Okay, so I am not going to join the interview with the AI at this point of time. So that's Merker. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, come back to Laura so that she can then help me take us from the rest part of it. So merker.com, really, you can even do mock interviews for certain organizations. They have created the AI beautifully. You upload, you get your resume right, which is absolutely ATS friendly. Like Justin said, bar graphs are good in PowerPoint and not on resumes, right? The infographics, leave it for the PowerPoint and not for your resumes. We like pure black and white resumes, which tell us the story about what has happened in your career, not a journey of your experience, but actually what your experience is.
Javeed, I've also noticed that there's been, whenever we put passing technology in, PDFs don't tend to work that well. Yep. I've tend to find that Word documents work a lot better. That's probably something to mention to the audience as well.
The best document format across ATSs, be it Oracle, Talio, ATSs, SuccessFactors, is .rtf. Perfectly works across all ATSs. We've tested it. When you have a PDF, it kind of hallucinates a little, but .rtf, even not a doc, because the doc is very commonly used. So .rtf is the best format to be uploading resumes into.
So, thanks.
Perfect. And then saying on the same subject, when it comes to CVs, resumes, are they as important as they used to be? Or has LinkedIn now become the main focus when it comes to recruiters looking at candidates?
Who's going first, Justin or me?
I can go. No problemo. Thank you. Both matter. 100%. LinkedIn, though, I would really say is becoming just as important, if not more, in some industries. Okay, so we are often now submitting with a clear idea of what they look like on their LinkedIn, and quite often recruiters or businesses are cross-referencing as well to see if the two tally up. So always make sure everything tells the same story. Okay, both matter. Recruiters often search LinkedIn first. Okay. So they'll review your LinkedIn profile. They'll see how well, see your references. They'll see the experience that you've done. They want to see consistency there. If they like what they see, they'll then contact you and ask for a CV. That's how the system goes, okay? CVs are essential for the ATS systems, but LinkedIn, I think, is really good to kind of showcase personality, endorsements, activity. As you know, and I professed many, many times, personal brand, I think, is of huge importance. I think recruiters can really get a sense for your personality, your endorsements, what you get up to, who you like, who you follow, what you chip in with. They'll keep a good look at this. And if they find that you're sharing informative content and discussing insightful and interesting topics, they'll know you're an intelligent person before they even pick up the phone. So LinkedIn is crucial in this, as well as CVs.
Absolutely. And I'll add on to that, right? Here's how I do recruiting in-house setup, or my recruiters do this. So we get resumes, we look at the resumes, and the first thing that we do is, the resume looks nice. Let me do this check on LinkedIn. So I'm giving you the other side of what Justin has told us, right? So I click on LinkedIn and I'm first looking at the headline. What is the vision that you have on your headline? What does it tell things about? Now, I've seen a lot of people put, golden visa holder, and I'm like, why? How is that going to help you professionally, right? Yeah, you've got a golden visa, it's going to help you, but I just didn't get that, right? So the headline needs to reflect the correct aspects. Then we scroll down to look at the activity that you have on LinkedIn. What are the kind of papers you share? What is the kind of activity you have? What is the kind of thought leadership that you're bringing in? Who you're connected to? What kind of circle of friends you have gives us a lot about your brand and your brand equity. We don't necessarily read through the experiences because that's on your resume for us already, but we also go down to see what kind of recommendations you've received, what kind of skills you've updated. So don't look at LinkedIn as just the top. My picture looks good, my banner looks good. No, there's so much more on LinkedIn that you need to work and keep your LinkedIn absolutely nice. Engagement is the most aspect of LinkedIn, right? What are you doing? Not just liking and sharing, not just reposting, but what are you bringing to LinkedIn helps us give us a good attitude and persona about the candidate as well.
Perfect. So we've talked LinkedIn, CVs. Next one up is cover letters. How important are cover letters in 2025? Javeed, I'll come to you first.
See, for me, cover letters are dead, and I'll be honest about it, right? Because I don't know if we've got the time to read the cover letters for 25,000 applications that are coming into a system. So I personally, on my team, or all the years that I've been a recruiter, I've never asked for cover letters because it is basically a very manipulated way of putting something on the cover letter, which might not create biases. So I stay away from cover letters. There are importance of the cover letters for certain roles, right? Now, when we ask for go-to-market roles or senior roles or something which has business development, we basically would like to see the thought process and strategy behind what you would like to do for the role. Then we ask specifically for a cover letter. But otherwise, I really stay away from the cover letter. But I would say rather than cover letter, look at an email page. Say you applied for a job, right? Once you applied for the job, you're on the ATS and you're on the mercy of the ATS for you to be shortlisted to the top 10 or top 15 candidates so that the recruiter then gets in touch with you. While you're waiting and putting your destiny in somebody's hand, I think what you should be doing is looking at who's hiring, who's the hiring manager, who is the person in the organization in charge of hiring for the role, and maybe do a pitch of an email. Again, email cannot be a GPT email. It has to be a superly articulated pitch about who you are, what you can do, and then at the end of them, tell them, hey, listen, I've applied for the role. I'll let the process follow, but I just wanted to put my hat into the ring and say, I'm available. That I think is the way to go in the today's job search.
Yeah. I think something Javeed touched on earlier, which unfortunately is what you get with a lot of cover letters, is you get cover letters without personalization now. You get ChatGPT cover letters, and I think they actually do more harm than good because recruiters get so many of these that they can spot generic AI writing. So, if you're going to do one, at least, and there are some roles where it can help. And we actually just had a situation this very week where a client was extremely specific about requirement that they needed. And I felt a cover letter was required with this CV, but I instructed the candidate to write the letter. Okay. I think sending them in, firing in cover letters, missiles without actually talking to a recruiter is it's quite generic. And I don't think it really tells much more than what you've got on the CV. But when you do get asked to write a cover letter, or when one can support, which is what Javeed just mentioned, and situation I'm in, and that could be for a task or a cover letter, you got to make sure it's authentic. You got to make sure it's in your personal voice, right? An over reliance of AI right now, which is unfortunately what the whole job application process is turning into a bit. It's become as easy as going online and ordering a bunch of bananas. Okay, you need to make sure that it's personalized, and you need to make sure it's authentic. This over reliance of AI is making them the same, and not everyone is perfect. And of course, AI makes everyone look perfect. You've got to try and get some personality and personalization and authenticity in it.
Very true. Very, very true.
Perfect. Some good advice there. Right, this question that I'm about to ask is something that comes up a lot. So I'm sure everyone's really curious on the answer. So how can candidates make sure their CV gets past automating screening systems? Javeed, I'll come to you first.
So I think keep it simple and use the right. So for example, how do you know? So let's back it up a little more bit, right? I want to be able to give you the tips and tricks of how you're going to do this. Before a job shows up on LinkedIn, it's about 24 hours to 48 hours late. Trust me, because how does job shows up on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn crawls all the jobs with various organizations, because most of the organization have LinkedIn account as their enterprise account, and LinkedIn gives us an opportunity to go ahead and crawl resumes or wrap resumes to put it up on LinkedIn. So before a job shows up on LinkedIn, it's about 24 hours to 48 hours late, depending on when the job was open in the organization. Technically, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you will see a lot of jobs showing up on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is crawled it at about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock and putting it there. So it's about how it works. So you're already a couple of hours late. If you want to go ahead and apply for the right jobs, you need to strategize job search. It's just not going to be, I'll click, I'll apply, I'll throw a few things at the wall and then it'll stick. No. I think what you need to do is you need to be looking at, hey, listen, I'm going to want to change my job, or I want to find a job. What kind of organizations do I want to work? Map them out. What kind of people or cultures do I want to work? Map them out. Now, when you have done the first level of your strategy in what and where you want to work, then you start looking at, hey, what kind of people work there? So what kind of resumes, what kind of ATS they have? So you got to have a little bit of a knowledge before you apply for a job. That's when you start designing a resume based on where you want to apply. I am not saying you got to have 10 different resumes, but you at least need to have 3 different types of resumes, because organizations are differently looking at different aspects of it. First of all, when you see a job, sit down and reflect and read the job description. I can't tell you enough. You're not just reading the headline of what the job is, but actually reading the job description, because you might be able to say, oh, I am an account manager, but the account manager in various organizations might have different attributes and KPIs. So do I have the ability to do that? Once you are able to at least get to an 80% match on job description, now you're ready to apply. How do you apply? Take the job description, go to an AI tool and help the AI tool carry out the best keywords in that job description. Take that keywords, put that into your into your resume, and use the AI tools to do that, but don't plagiarize. And then you apply through a simple black and white document. It could be .rtf, .doc, like we talked about before. And then the ATS cleans it up, looks at the job description that is available, what we have uploaded to open the job rec, matches a resume, parses the resumes, and gives us the best 15 candidates. Keep it simple, but what the idea is, your resume has to match what the job description is talking about. If we see a north and a south, then it's not going to have any chance of getting shortlisted.
Great. Would I be right, Javeed, in saying that the way the ATS systems work, though, is that it's a scorecard system, right? Typically, it's keyword matching and experience. They need to be absolutely clear, as well as formatting. it looks at the keywords and it looks at the experience people have served certain sectors, right? So that's not getting that clear, which can be something, because I see so many different formatted CVs sometimes where they actually don't spend that long talking about their experience. They have this huge paragraph that tells them about who they are, what they've done. So I think if you've got that consistency of putting experience in and the way you format it, that is key to getting yourself through the ATS system as well, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And you're very absolutely right, Justin. Our ATSs are designed in terms of coding it by saying, I want you to focus on these keywords, these job descriptions. And we cannot code our ATSs for every job differently. Like, for example, I would love to have ATS shortlist my resumes for UX and UI designers differently, but I can't do it because I can't code an ATS differently every time, right? But it is one single code, and hence it is simply built on, here's a job description, I will only shortlist according to these keywords. That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to show you folks something. Again, this is again simple AI, something that you can log into your websites freely today. I mean, it's free, and then it goes freemium. So here is rezi.ai, rez.ai. This is what you're looking at my screen. It'll help you create a resume, which is ATS friendly, a cover letter, which is ATS friendly, and a resignation letter. Let's just focus on the two here, right? Simple. Resume is, you want to build it from a scratch, a free sample, and import your resume. I'm going to say, let's import my resume to see what I get, right? So it's going to ask me to upload my resume. So let's quickly do that. And how beautifully they have designed these tools is just phenomenal, right? And that's my resume. So I'm just going to put it there. It's uploading it.
Practicing. There you go.
Yeah, it is working on it. My resume is a little larger. I don't know why, but
you're very experienced. That's why, Javeed.
I'm a very
so much knowledge there. It's trying to extract. It's going to take a long time. There we go.
It's done. It's pretty fast. So it's done its job. So it's doing whatever it is doing, and it is going to optimize my resume exactly of how I need the ATS to look. Right? It's giving me a score. The score of Resi of my auto resume is whatever I uploaded is 71. I want to definitely take this up. It'll help me do the adjustments that I want to do in terms of the template. It'll help. I mean, it'll simply help me download the PDF and then be ready to apply. Now, the best part is here I can go back and put my designation for which I'm applying, or simply copy paste the job description from LinkedIn, and then it'll do the matching, and it'll then help us do a simple resume according to this. So you really don't have to do this again and again over and over manually. You just need to use rezi.ai, and it'll help you do the magic from there on.
Amazing.
Great.
And then when it comes to the CVs, Javeed, how do you think it's important that a person's CV is tailored to each role that they're applying for?
So don't go back and, like I said, right, we don't want to have tens and thousands of resumes as an individual. Simple rule is, when you're applying for a job, your resume is pretty much one template. And in that template, what you're looking at, so for example, let's look at the jobs. We've got strategy jobs, we've got delivery jobs, we've got implementation jobs, and we got operational jobs. I think most of the jobs are bucketized this way. So you're basically having 4 types. So if you're applying for a very operational heavy job, then make sure your resume is formatted or templated with the keywords which are operation heavy. If you're applying for a strategy job, then your resume needs to show the strategy, that's what's going to go up. So I would say when you're applying for strategy job, your resume should just be 1 page, because you want to show your strategy with the resume. If it is operational and heavily depend on KPIs and execution, then it can go to about 2 to 3 pages, not more than that, and so on and so forth. That's how you think on application and keeping your resumes very tailored. Not too many copies, but bucketized on how. There are people who jump from financial industry to, say, telecom industry. That's going to be difficult for them to tailor it to showcase how they're reinventing themselves. But yeah, that's a different topic altogether. That's a masterclass by itself.
And would you agree with that, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I would. I think, I think Javeed covered everything there, Sarah.
Perfect. And then Javeed, you've showed us some pretty cool tools already. Is there any other tools out there that candidates should be aware of that will help them in the job search process?
I want to leave them with one more, right? I mean, and this is something that you folks need to do. This is called the job scan, right? There is this AI tool which helps you look for jobs, build your profiles, track your jobs, because job search is also a strategy. It's not a, it's just not a one-time kind of a thing. You want to be able to go back and do everything right. So jobscan.co is something that again has been released in the couple of days before. These are all very new tools and they're still working on it. Now, JobScan helps you do everything in a place. Latest resume, LinkedIn report, your job tracker, how many applications have you applied for, how many are you interviewing, and so on and so forth. Again, it also gives you drag your resume, drag a job description so that you can help and apply to the jobs most frequently and so on and so forth. And they also have some jobs for you to apply, but that's not what I'm trying to sell at this point of time. But JobScan is definitely something that everybody needs to have. Something also called teal. Similar way concept of teal is you've got a career goal, you've got a set target. Again, the reason I'm showing this up is your job thing. It has to be a strategy of where I want to take my career and how I want to be able to land my job. And that, right, for example, if you go to JobScan and if you see that you've applied or saved or interviewed for 3 jobs, but you haven't got any offers, then your strategy needs to change. If you've applied for 50 jobs, but you haven't got an interview, then there's something wrong at your resume. It helps you reflect much more better, helps your job search so much more better. And that's why I wanted to show these tools. And that's the tools that I had for today for you guys.
Amazing.
Can I just throw in a question there? Because I'm just curious on your opinion, and this might help some of the people watching as well. Quite a number of recruiters I've met say they rarely rely on ATS scores, and most people I talk to are agency based, right? From your experience, from the internals, from client side, how important are the ATS scores when you look at CVs?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I might be hurting a few people when I answer this. Okay, so ATSs have become graveyards of resumes, not just because they were that way or what it was, but what happened, Justin, is we've all inherited some ATS systems when we worked somewhere. Now, there have been difference of thought process and how ATSs have got used. So wherever I've gone, the first thing that I've done is I have cleaned up the ATSs before I ask my recruiters to get onto it, right? Clean it up, archive it, whatever, right? Whatever needs to be done. So when a job opens up, we basically say, give it 2 days for the applications to flow in, go to page 1 and page 2. That's where you stop, because after that, it's not going to give you too much of an option. So recruiters spend time on page 1 and page 2, most of the times, to get the resumes that they want. Now, the curveball comes in is the referrals. The referrals when come in, it hurts a curveball saying, hey, Javed, I was going through all the resumes on page 1 and page 2, but the hiring manager already has a resume which he or she wants to prioritize. So I'm going to go ahead. And so there is a little bit of a curveball that happens. And that's when I said, while you apply on ATS, make sure you also write to the hiring manager, because in our region, that curveball is happening. It is the reality for us to get a referral, because the hiring manager would like to work with somebody he or she is known, has understood, has certain past, because again, they're only looking at the learning curve, right? So that's how this works. So, but technically page 1 and page 2 is where most of the time the resume is. But let me tell you this on what I said. Most of the time when we sit down for reviews with the in-house teams, and this is across the industry, I am in connect with every talent acquisition leader, is why don't we get the right resumes to come into our ATSs? This is the problem we're trying to solve. Like, there was a job that we were screening for. It was a job for an management consultant, but a forklift driver also had applied for the job. And I don't get it, right? So when you look at the right applications coming in and the funneling is the right way, ATSs work. But if there is 2,000 applications for a job role, which is account manager, then even the recruiter is like, I don't know what to do with them right now. And that's how this fails. So it's a mix of everything. But most of the TA leaders are now pushing every recruiters to focus on ATSs, because they want dashboards, they want clarity, they want funneling, they want everything. Even if the referral comes in, we are asking the hiring manager to have the candidate upload on an ATS so that they can be equally matched with the other candidates that we have.
Interesting.
Honest answer.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. All right, we're going to move to our first Q&A session as we've had lots of questions come through. So I'm going to pass over to Laura, who's going to give your questions to Justin and Javeed.
Thanks, Sarah. We are going to keep this one quite brief and we'll do a longer Q&A session at the end just because we've still got quite a lot to go through to help everybody. So I just want to take it back to the beginning and there's a couple of questions around terminology. So can you explain what ATS stands for and what it actually means? Because there's a few people that aren't sure on that.
We lost you for a minute when you asked your question.
I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. So I just want to take it back. Can you explain what ATS stands for and what it means?
Application Tracking System. That is what ATS means, and that's what it stands for. Every application that needs to come into an organization has to go through an ATS. ATS is a simple terminology. Application Tracking System is what it means.
Perfect, thank you. I believe you don't want to add anything there, Justin. That's question answered, right?
I think we nailed that one, Nora. I think we nailed that one. Yeah.
Okay, so how good is LinkedIn's Tailor My Resume feature? We'll start with you, Justin.
I don't like any of these LinkedIn AI tools that have come. Honestly, I'm really. I mean, it's interesting that Javeed is the stuff that he's shown is nothing to do with LinkedIn's data right now. The AI tools that they have, I'm not being blown away by them. I mean, I would never write an email. Some of the in-mail suggestions that it gives you are truly horrendous. But I think one of the other problems is that they don't cross cultural barriers either. They feel like they're very tailor-made for perhaps the US market and then sits out. So I think well, I don't know anyone that uses those, and also we as recruiters can spot those a mile off. I think some of these tools that we've shown in the demos today, that's where you should be looking, okay, and really getting your I'm going to say the word authenticity again and again in this, because that's the bit, ironically, the bit that you probably that ChatGPT has made everyone too perfect, right? I actually quite like, now please don't send me stuff with spelling mistakes after I say this, but sometimes I'm a little bit reassured when I see a grammatical error because I'm like, okay, this is authentic, you know. So and I never thought I'd say that, but there we go. I'm that's a very long-winded answer to your question there, Laura.
No,
Laura, LinkedIn is learning for sure, but it's far from the learning aspect. The agility is in the smaller players. They're able to make the algorithms much more quicker and easier to work on. So the learning will take some time for LinkedIn to come across being that quick and agile for us.
Got it. Thank you. So on that note of the websites that you showed us and the demos that you showed us, I noticed on one of the sites, the cover letter had pro next to it. Are those all free or do people have to sign up to subscriptions?
So most of the 4 tools that I showed you starts free and then go freemium. That's how it basically, right? It's not premium, it's freemium. It starts free, gives you the 10 resumes, 10 5 letters and so on and so forth. But yeah, it'll definitely help you. But the subscriptions are like $4, $3. It's not very costly. These players want to be able to help people rather than actually make money out of them. So it's not a money game. So like, you know, yeah, so that's the kind of thing. It starts freemium rather than just being free totally for all of it, because then it loses its value. So it is freemium.
Okay, perfect. And it's not really, you know, costly at $4.
Too much
so
money.
definitely
Exactly.
affordable. Okay, great. I'm going to pass back to Sarah, but keep getting your questions in. I'm going to try and group them as best as I can, and then we'll have a bigger Q&A at the end.
Perfect. All right. So our next section is optimizing online presence. So the first question for you both, what's one easy fix people can make to their LinkedIn profile that will increase their visibility to recruiters? Justin, come to you first on this one.
Clearly in your title, say exactly what you do. It's honestly, you'd be amazed how many people it's not very clear what they do from their titles. Okay, so always make sure that your titles are completely clear on your LinkedIn, that you've got clear distinctions on the work that you've done, that it's updated, that you're actually, I think because I love content and I'm very interested in always what people are sharing. Don't have a static profile as well. People really want to see what you're doing right now. And of course, the more you get involved, the more content that you create works a bit like an SEO platform. So if a recruiter is searching through LinkedIn, that if you've got relevant keywords, if you're talking about particular topics and you're actually got a lot of content out there, in for Boolean searches as well, this is fantastic. Your name will come up quite a bit.
Absolutely. And I think you covered the headline and whatever you want to show. But for me, when you look at the experience, see, LinkedIn is much more easier and easy checks. What I want you to, I mean, the candidate should do is when you look at, tell me something about me, should be in that readable frame, but not like I have to scroll 5 pages. Put it in that frame so that I can read through what I want to read through. And in your experience, rather than saying 2 pages again, because we don't want to see that, you just want to say, what am I working on? And it needs to change and get updated every other time, so that when I'm looking at your resume, I'm looking at you solving a problem for a public sector, private sector. Keep it high level, but at least tell us what are you working on, so that we know that you're working for the next company and this is the problem you're solving for them. That's the best way for me to, that's for senior to mid-senior. But for juniors, simply show them what you're working on, what your KPIs are, and it helps us understand your methodology of working and helps us shortlist better. But your engagement is very important. When I go to a LinkedIn resume and I see no activity for 90 days, I'm done with that LinkedIn. Because I don't know what you're trying to tell me, right? With the LinkedIn, you've created it, but you've not been on LinkedIn for about 90 days. So then why should I spend time on your LinkedIn, right? The street works both ways. We have to do this together. So that's my point.
Perfect.
I will actually chip in with something else, if that's okay. And it's only because I had this very problem the other day, is you've got to have a professional photo on there. There's some people who haven't changed their photo for about 10 years, others that haven't got a picture, and others which have got a picture and I don't quite know what they're thinking. You know, you've got to have a professional photo and a good background banner, okay? And really have a solid about section as well. I always read those. Tell your story, not just your job titles, is what I'll say on that.
Correct.
And we spoke quite a lot about the importance of LinkedIn there. So as recruiters, do you still look at personal websites and portfolios a lot, or is LinkedIn enough?
Again, depends on the job role. If you are a designer in the creative field, then I need your portfolios to be updated and I need that portfolios as a shortlisting. But other than that, I don't think I see portfolios for most of the places. But all the jobs that I have, I always go to the candidate's LinkedIn every single time, or the recruiter does go through it. And there's one thing that we tried very, very recently. I just want to give this. There's a free tool called notebook.lm. Whenever you folks, you can simply copy paste your LinkedIn link and you put that into notebook.lm, and 2 AI podcasters will discuss your LinkedIn resume. Amazingly. I mean, it's amazing for the ego as well. So there was one hiring manager who was basically not wanting us to shortlist a resume. There was a few biases. We sent that podcast, said, listen in your car, come back and tell me how things are doing. And then he actually said, I listened to the podcast. The candidate seems good. Yeah, they were very good things. I want to now meet the candidate and see if there are red flags, but it works. So, but if you want to do something, I need your LinkedIn profile to be updated and nicer and so on and so forth, right? So, but there are tools to even help you with the LinkedIn resume these days.
Yeah,
but not GPT.
Yeah, creatives. I mean, we do a lot of creative recruitment. In fact, back in the day, Javeed, I think we did some together. In fact, by the way, I've noticed in some of the questions, one of our old hires is in there. So who I'll give a shout out to later. Yeah, I mean, so portfolios always are important to get across. I mean, we've always driven on that, but actually in creatives, quite often we've sent a portfolio and a LinkedIn profile, and those two are normally satisfactory. But other sectors, no, it's much more tailored towards the CV.
All right, and then back on the subject of AI, LinkedIn has AI-powered job matching. How accurate is it, and should candidates rely on it or take a different approach? Javeed, I'll come to you first.
How accurate is the job parsing on ATSs? Is that the question?
How accurate is the AI-powered job matching on LinkedIn? So I think you can get notifications and things like that when a relevant job comes up.
No, it's still learning. The AI on LinkedIn is late to the party, but it's still learning and it's doing its job at this point of time. The talent insight. So there are 2 tools that a company buys from LinkedIn. One is the LinkedIn recruiter license, the enterprise account, and they also buy something called Talent Insight. It's a kind of a bundle that we get. Now, Talent Insight is more like a talent acquisition leader tool, helps us analyze what industry trends and what people are doing well and the insights of it as well. So when I look at, for example, I have a great candidate who is amazing at potential, but the resume isn't that great, it might not show up on those because LinkedIn is not understanding the potential and whatever behind it. It's just understanding the black and white words and then doing what it is. So it's learning. I don't think it's fairly accurate, but I've seen LinkedIn mature from the day they gave me click here for a tailored approach. From there to what it is giving us from a search perspective, it's definitely maturing and improving so fastly that, hey Javed, all you need to do is plug in this and we will give you this, right? It's even more disrupting it, but it is improving is what my answer is.
Yeah. Justin?
I've got communications in my profile, so it seems LinkedIn is always very keen for me to apply for some senior communications roles that are popping up every now and then. But I must say it's a lot more accurate than some recruitment still approach me for jobs, which I always love. I always love that when I get approached by a recruitment agency for a great recruiter role. And if you're watching this, no, I'm not looking for a job.
Okay, last question for you both in this section. Javeed, you mentioned, you look at some LinkedIn profiles and they're quite dormant, people aren't updating them and such like. So how much does your LinkedIn kind of engagement, things like your post, your following, your commenting, updating your profile, how much of a difference does that make when it comes to applying for jobs?
I mean, 100% it makes a difference, right? I mean, LinkedIn's algorithm has no smart way of telling who is good, who is bad, other than the activity that happens on LinkedIn. Simple as it sounds, right? It does not do anything much major than that. So even if you're saying a thank you, that's an engagement, right? You don't have to be always like write an essay for 200 words. No, that's not what it means. What it means is now and again, engage people. So for example, you are following a company that you want to be a part of, having them just to read what they are posting is not good enough. You got to go back and start adding your engagement activity to that. Now, what it happens is at some point of time, if that company opens a job and when the recruiter is starting to look at the job application, your profile, the algorithm reads your engagement, your activity towards that organization and helps you showcase your profile to the recruiters in much, much higher. It's a simple algorithm. It basically says, I've got a person, what is he or she doing on LinkedIn? What is the engagement activity? How can I help the engagement go up by putting the person's profile in front of the people? So you might see my profile popping up. I don't do much. I simply write what I feel like that day. And when somebody comments, I either say thank you and I appreciate it. And that's all it is. So simply, you get 500 likes and 400 comments is just great for your engagement.
Yeah. I mean, all great points. And look, I've got some, I was doing some research before this, got some stats to back up what Javeed said there. So 97% of recruiters now use LinkedIn as a tool to find candidates, right? And so for a start, so if you're not on LinkedIn, you're not going to get hired by the looks of it. And 71%, so in a recent report by a business called Cognizant, okay? So those with a comprehensive LinkedIn profile have a 71% higher chance of securing a job interview than those that don't. So it completely backs up everything that Javeed's just said there. And what I think LinkedIn's, when I spoke to Finton, who we work with in LinkedIn, he told me that 3 people are hired every minute through LinkedIn now. I mean, that's insane, right?
And I'm going to put my bottom dollar on this. LinkedIn is here to stay. No matter what happens with every other AI that's coming in, LinkedIn will not go away. That will still be a primary way of doing. Everybody else is using LinkedIn to help us get to what we are getting. So LinkedIn is definitely here to stay. So you got to make sure that you're on top of that LinkedIn.
There we go. Get on LinkedIn, guys, if you want to get a new job. All right, we've got one more section of questions to go through, and then we will be moving to our final Q&A. So make sure you get all of your questions in while we're going through this last section. So this section is standing out in a competitive market. So the first question that I have for you, what skills or qualities make a candidate stand out in today's job market? Javeed, I'll come to you first.
Very interesting. I mean, very clearly, what is fit for the job is somebody who's done the job, who's gone through the thick and thins of being able to manage what I want to hire in the organization, matching at least the 80% the job description, because I don't think in the day and time we don't have the time to now reinvent or reinvest in people. So we want the quick fix for most of this. And I think hiring managers are not wrong in asking those things, because if I'm a hiring manager, I'm hiring for my team, I would look somebody to come and hit the ground running immediately, not able to do that, right? So I think stand out, have a great resume, have a great brand equity for yourself, have a great LinkedIn presence, not great, but at least have a LinkedIn presence, and then make sure that you're not devaluing yourself by applying for hundreds of jobs. Stick to 5 jobs when you're doing a job search, put all your investment in that 5 jobs, connect, work, and so on and so forth, and then see how it is. So for me, that would be my answer. I don't know if I answered it correctly, but yeah.
Great answer. Justin, anything to add?
The question again is?
What skills or qualities make a candidate stand out in today's job market?
Yeah, gotcha. So I saw this brilliant interview with ex-President Obama, right? And he said, "What's the number?" And it was a roll around. What's the best skill that you can teach or someone should have when they enter the working world? And he said, it's the person that just gets things done. All right. Now, I just think that is the most brilliant. And I think about the great people I've had work with me, work for the organizations that I've worked for, or the people that we've placed. They've always said to me, this person's brilliant. They get their head down and they get stuff done. Okay. So if you've got references and if you've got a CV that shows the achievements that you've made and the stuff that you've accomplished, that is like the ideal candidate. And that's from the former president of the United States, okay? But he's so true. Like when I read that, it was like the best hires he remembers is the people that just dealt with the problems, got things done, okay? So you get things done, be a great problem solver, be excellent when it comes to critical thinking, yeah? But the other things I think that really make someone stand out, or maybe not necessarily stand out, are to be expected that people might not realize is people expect you to be digitally literate now. Okay. It's not, they expect you to understand digital in whatever way it takes part in your sector. You need to be digital literacy is absolutely key. You got to show that you're adaptable and can learn. I think most people are really interested in candidates that have got a clear learning ability, that they can pick up new tools, processes and industries. Okay. And the other thing, and I'm going to say it again, is personal branding and communication. Good communicators always get hired, right? You can't never not over communicate in business. And I think last but not least, the most important one I say when I interview someone is, have they got good EQ? All right. Have they got good emotional intelligence? Are they someone that we want to sat in a room with, if we're working in an office, or we're wanting to communicate with regularly? Can they manage stress? Are they great to be around? Have they got good company? And are they going to be a potential leader? I think those are things that they're classical skills, some of them, but they're underrated.
And one would argue, how do I get to showcase the skills before I get to an interview because my resume is not getting shortlisted? Yep. Use the same skills to apply and do the application process as well. Then I'm sure your chances get far more better in terms of being in front of the hiring manager.
100%.
All right. We have 6 minutes left, so I'm cautious that we want to get as many questions answered as possible. So I'm going to hand over to Laura, who's going to go through the questions that we've had in the chat.
Okay, so we've had quite a lot of questions. So I'm just sort of filtering through them and trying to pick the ones that I think will be most beneficial for our audience. Now, a lot of people are trying to get on notebook.lm already. They're trying to get it to work. And a few people have asked, I mean, you can definitely say no, but they've asked if it would be possible for you to do a quick demo of that. If not, because I'm very much putting you on the spot here, that's absolutely fine.
Hang on, let me try that quick one right away. So
I
let's
see a few people have also asked Javeed if you can play a tune as we close out. So you might need to get.
That's not mine, guys. I'm going to skip that position of those guitars very soon right now. So let me see, notebook.lm. Let's open notebook. I'm on a different work. I'm actually supposed to be on Safari. Try notebook simply. Okay, guys, just try simple notebook. Okay. And when you do, it's basically showing the notebooks that I have created. This is my resume and so on and so forth. What you need to do is just click create new resume, upload a source. Now the source could be either a doc from your Google, or either could be copy and paste of a link from your LinkedIn or YouTube. That's it. Simple. All you need to do is upload. And this is exactly how it's going to sound like. Let me just bring that up. I have to share my screen again. Share my screen, and yeah, there you go. I don't know whether you'll be able to hear the sound. I haven't checked the sound of it because today I wasn't ready for the sound part. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay, so my LinkedIn, yeah, here you go. I don't know whether you can hear the sound.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how much we love diving into a topic, and this time we're tackling career reinvention in this wild world of work. To guide us, we're taking cues from someone who's practically written the book on career pivots, Javeed Khan.
Okay,
And when I say we're
so you get the picture, right? So
taking cues, I mean, his LinkedIn profile is basically a masterclass. We're talking someone who went from the United Nations to American Online to IBM.
Wait, American Online? Like back in the day?
Yeah. And then to MasterCard, D360.
Wow.
okay, you get the picture, guys. That's what it is. That's how the podcaster two AIs discuss your LinkedIn resume. And then it's amazing. You can do a resume, you can do a LinkedIn, you can do anything. I've done job descriptions. I've sent the job description to candidates. I've gone through resumes of senior people, sent it to my hiring manager. The use cases are millions of those.
I get what you mean now about the ego boost.
Oh, it's big time. Imagine two podcasters discussing your resume, right? So it's amazing.
And just saying how great you are, it sounds great. Okay. The next question is about LinkedIn Recruiter. Is it worth buying it for candidates? Is it worth putting the money into? Does it really help with a job search?
So you're talking about LinkedIn Premium for a candidate for job application, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
It's definitely worth the money, because what you could do with free LinkedIn, again, it's like a tip of an iceberg, right? What you pay, you get much more advanced tools and help. And also, the algorithm looks at you differently because you're premium. At a free account, you are a handicap. You're working with a hand tied back, right? So premium definitely helps. But again, it's a personal choice because there's money involved, but it definitely helps to see if you have a premium account.
Okay, perfect.
Not a recruiter. I think they asked about LinkedIn Recruiter. Don't get that. That is for recruiters.
No.
Yeah, not that one.
Yeah, it's a 1-year contract, and it's a lot of money that you'll have to spend on it. Do not do that. Yeah.
Okay, premium, not the recruiter. Okay, so a lot of people are also asking about career and industry changes and those keywords being in their CV so that they do kind of progress on ATS systems. So what is the best way to approach your CV really if you want to career industry change and have that reflect in, your working history if you've got those transferable skills?
Justin, you coach a lot of CEOs and people, so you should take that.
Yeah, look, so running a business, when we get hired as recruiters, right, quite often we are looking for industry experts. I really feel in this market, it's quite, if you're, let's say, for example, you're head of HR, you're a CEO of a business, multinational, if you can show that you've run a large business, if you can show that there's the tactical elements of the role that are transferable, put those in. But quite a lot of jobs require skill set sector specialization. Okay. And that's one of the tough parts. I mean, HR, you've managed to move from different sectors, but you've kept the core HR skills, right? Marketing, we move people who go across different sectors in marketing. But what I don't move many people is if you're a CFO and you want to become a head of communications, That ain't going to happen, right? If you are a CTO and you're interested in HR, that ain't going to happen, right? So there are certain things where that's not possible to happen. And if they do happen, they will only happen in the early stages for your career. If you're looking for across industry, which is what I think the question is guided at, that's when you need to focus on what the transferable skills are, okay? And in many industries, there are plenty of transferable skills. We place CMOs, chief communications officers, CEOs across different industries, and we get to focus on what the relevant business is structured, what the organization looks like, and to really go behind the curtain on what that is. So that's that you need to focus on.
And my 2 cents on that is, you guys know budgets are shrinking, inflation is high, demand and supply is a problem, there are redundancies happening, there's not too many projects coming in, budgets are getting cut, there's too many problems in the economy at this point of time. If you really want to reinvent yourself, I would say do it internally in your organization, gather some experience, use those transferable skills like Justin talked about, see if you like it, you don't like it, then make the switch happen. But if you're looking for a reinvention of a career through a job search in an absolutely different market, I would say the chances might be a little slim at this point of time.
Yeah. Hit the nail on the head. Very infrequently do we get career change opportunities. We actually had a guest on one of these webinars not so long ago, Javeed, who Anya, who was a chief communications officer who became a chief people officer. Okay, now that is the only time I can see movement on that, and quite often communications and people can flow quite well. Be an internal comms element to that, but very infrequently does that happen.
Very I agree absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. I'm only going to ask 2 more, but the next question is, are there any rules to the frequency, repetition of the main keywords of the job description when you put those into your CV? So are there any rules about whether that's going to come up as, I guess, plagiarism, or like you're just copying the job description?
So it depends. Like, for example, if I need a skill called, say, I need communications, the communications as a skill need to reflect in the right places of the resume rather than everywhere, right? So for example, it can't say Javeed Khan communication. It can't say my summary communication. It can't say work experience communication. No, it doesn't work. I mean, clearly it's not the way to do that. So the right balance and the right amount, I might not know, because I might just be human and I'm looking at, hey, I want to get through ATS, so I'm going to put that word communication as many a times as possible. But somebody reading it is looking at, what happened here, right? So I think you need to use the right tools to manage that balance, and let's help you match the job description and the resume to help you balance it out. But yeah, don't overdo it just to get shortlisted by the ATSs, because even the ATSs then will realize that something is wrong here.
Yeah, also it just doesn't read well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, I think hopefully one of the things people have taken from this is we're use technology to help you, but use it to also enhance who you are.
True.
Okay, my last question, it's a big one. So I want you guys to have a think about what your last big, most important piece of advice is for job seekers in the Middle East.
Oh, I've got that ready already, Laura.
Oh, amazing.
That's exactly what I wanted to go ahead and do this class, right? Simply, guys, look at your job search as a strategy and as an exercise that you want to do. So here's a 7-day challenge for you guys, and we can connect on LinkedIn to continue this conversation and see how it goes. You'll optimize your LinkedIn. That's the first thing that you're going to do as soon as you get off the call. Look at your LinkedIn and like, what can I do? And use the right tools to help you optimize LinkedIn. That's the first thing. Second is map out the job search and the keywords that you want to apply for those right places, right? So that's what you need to do, is sit down, reflect, and it says, I am this, I want to apply for this, and these are the companies I want to work for. Get that strategy right. Then look at your resume, tailor the resume, have 3 copies, one for very generic distribution, second for a very ATS friendly resume, and a third resume, which is basically a very high level profile to maybe share on WhatsApps and phones so that you can keep the conversation going. Third one, apply for 5 jobs, don't apply for 50 jobs, apply for 5 jobs, connect with those 5 recruiters, connect with those 5 hiring managers, and increase the engagement of that, right? And send 3 direct email messages to those hiring managers and recruiters, showcasing the interest, and run the ATS check on your resume for sure. And day 7, reflect, refine your strategy. This is the next 7 days that you're going to work on. That's how you're going to look at your job search. This is how a job search needs to be done, not by saying, I got these 3 jobs, click easy, easy apply, easy apply. Nothing's going to stick if you continue doing this. So you've got to strategize how you want to search your jobs. That's quick.
That's great. Absolutely brilliant, that. Guys, I think what we could probably do is take that as a clip and share it as well, because that's really sound advice.
Yeah, for sure. Have you got anything to add there, Justin?
Yeah, look, I'm going back to some stuff that I've said before. Getting a job right now in the GCC is extraordinarily hard if you're not here. Yeah. If you're not here, because we used to relocate a lot. That's a fact, right? We just relocate a lot less now. So if you're not here, and I can see there's quite a few questions that have come through from people who are abroad, and we're not ignoring you. I just want you to know that. But the reality is that there's just there is a big, it's a more mature market now, right? There's a lot more people here. People tend to look local first. Much like when I lived in Singapore, very infrequently did you relocate. It's a very mature market. I feel that's the same for a lot of the GCC states now. To look for a job here, I would say you need to network here. And networking for me is critical in getting a job here, because this is still a referral market. I'm sure Javeed, you get referred lots of people, I'm sure, as well. We always embrace those referrals first, typically. And so you've got to get in that circle of networking. Now, the other good news is that this part of the world has more events, networking societies, clubs, opportunities than you can imagine. So get in the circle. And I can tell you something as well, having lived in different parts of the world, everyone wants to help each other here. Once you get into those circles, networking, there's a very friendly community. Javeed, you are very senior in quite a few societies for HR professionals. I'm involved in quite a number with different societies and clubs as well. I know that everyone is there, embraces a new member. Everyone wants to help each other. You've got to get into those circles. And once you do, you can really get noticed and stand out. So aside from all the LinkedIn tips and hiring strategies and tips that we've given on these webinars, and especially today, network, guys, get out there and make sure that you're seen and you can be seen. And if you do that, I promise you've got the best chance to get in front of some great people.
Love that advice. I have had closures of job roles by hiring manager going through a networking event and saying, I met him, I love him, can you call him in for an interview? And all I got was a telephone number. So it really works in showcasing your networking activities as well. Yeah. So love that advice, Justin. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, brilliant. We've got people who are giving the muscle emojis to the 7-day challenge. Lots of people are into this. So this is great. And I just want to say thank you so much. It's been really, really informative. I'm going to pass back to Sarah to close up. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Was great.
Perfect, thank you. We will have a full recording of today's session, so you'll be able to go back through and re-listen to all of the advice and go back and look at the different tools that were shared on the demos today. I just want to say a big thank you to Javeed and Justin for all of their advice and wisdom today. If people want to stay in touch with you guys, what's the best way for them to do so? I think you'll have a lot of people joining the 7-day challenge, so I'm sure they'll want to be able to keep in touch. What's the best way to get in contact?
I am putting my LinkedIn on the chat right now so that you folks can connect and work with me further. I work on a simple first in, first out method. So don't wait for an answer 24 hours after you've given me an email or a message. I will get back to you, but I also have about close to every day about 70 messages, but I will get into the first in, first out method. But I reply to everybody who writes to me on LinkedIn. So that's my LinkedIn there.
Perfect. LinkedIn as well. Unsurprisingly, we have we should be getting paid by LinkedIn, the amount of plugs we've been giving them today. 100%. Onto these webinars, if you're listening, that would be great. Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks again to Javeed, Justin and Laura for taking part in today's session. We'll send an email with the recording and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Justin. Lovely catching up again.